Hey guys, and welcome back. So I've been trying out a bunch of different pre-cooked meal services for the past few weeks, and while I was pleased with what most of them had to offer, I found that Factor 75 is arguably the best out of the bunch. So let me get into it because the food itself was really amazing, but depending on your diet, you might find a few downsides. So throughout this video, I'll be talking about the packaging process, some of my thoughts on the meals I've had, supported diets, pricing, and ultimately, what makes Factor stand out compared to other services. I'll also be getting into some of the issues I've had with the service, so if that sounds good to you, let's get right into it. Alright, so Factor is a healthy meal service that ships you food made by professional chefs and designed by dietitians right to your door on a weekly basis. Now, the food you receive is pre-cooked, so all you have to do is put it in your microwave or oven, and you're good to go. And in case you're worried about the freshness of the food, then you'll be glad to hear that Factor uses organic ingredients in their meals, which means that you won't find any GMOs, hormones, preservatives, or refined sugars. And when it comes to delivery and packaging, the box was well insulated and had enough ice packs that kept everything at the right temperature. Now, what's interesting about the packaging is that it uses modified atmosphere packaging, which is a technique that prolongs the food's shelf life by adjusting the gas mix inside, and this helps in slowing down spoilage and maintaining freshness. Now, this packaging method is done right after the cooking process is finished. So they chill the meal properly and then send it out in these boxes, which can maintain the freshness for up to 48 hours. So even if you're not home to pick up your box, you don't have to worry about the food getting spoiled. And by the way, if you didn't manage to eat the meals within those 2 days, then don't worry because the food stays fresh for an entire week chilled in the fridge. And yes, you can recycle pretty much everything except for the content inside of the brown paper insulation, which should just be discarded. Okay, now when it comes to preparing the meals, all you have to do is heat them up by piercing the plastic film and putting them into the microwave on high for about 2 to 3 minutes. Or better yet, you can remove the film completely and put it into the oven for 5 minutes or so, which is what I'd recommend, especially if you have a few extra minutes to do so, as this helps with even more heating. Oh, and also just make sure you remove sauce containers for meals that have them before heating up, since those are not heat friendly. Alright, as for customer service, there is a bit of a cause for concern. While the live chat and phone support agents are super friendly and nice and make an effort to help you out, I did notice that they are non-native English speakers, which is fine really, but you do have to simplify your language just a bit to get across. It's a minor inconvenience, honestly, but something I did notice. I mean, really, as long as the food stays the way it is, I have no complaints. But in case any of your meals arrived in bad condition, like maybe it's above the recommended temperature that keeps it fresh, or the packaging was done poorly, you can reach out to Factor through email, live chat, or just by calling them within 5 days of getting your meal box. And once they confirm your claim, they'll be happy to remedy the situation by sending you a free replacement or a refund. And while I haven't had any issues with my delivery, I've heard from others that use Factor that in some rare cases where the packaging got mishandled by a third-party delivery service, Factor were more than willing to compensate for the damages. So it's really nice to see that the customer service does what it's supposed to be doing very, very well. Alright, so now let's get into some of the foods you'll be eating. So having ordered 4 meals in this box, the very first thing I dug into was the Indian butter chicken. And honestly, this tasted almost identical to the one I had at a favorite restaurant of mine a while back, though it was a little less spicy, which actually hits the spot for me, and the chicken was also very tender. Next up is the chicken Alfredo pasta, and I was kind of worried that they'd mess this one up, because a lot of times pre-cooked Alfredo chicken just ends up being a dry, overcooked mess, but it was far from that in this case over here. Again, the chicken was super soft, and it easily melted in my mouth, and the pasta was honestly perfectly cooked. Now, to be fair, I didn't find it as flavorful as the butter chicken, but it's still a solid pick and great on its own. The other 2 dishes I had were the Louisiana shrimp and the broccoli cheddar ground beef. And while I didn't really like the texture of the buttery rice cauliflower with the shrimp, the flavors more than made up for that and was still overall a wonderful experience, so I definitely recommend giving those 2 a try. Now, just as a heads up, in case you're on a plant-based diet, there aren't really many choices for vegan and veggie dishes, so you might have to settle for doubling your order with some of the dishes just to fill the box. And I do get that sometimes eating the same food ends up being really boring, so I hope they add a few more options down the line. And although I wish they had highlighted the meals that align with dietary restrictions like gluten-free, dairy-free, and nut-free, they still provide the allergens, nutritional info, and detailed description of each meal as well as ingredients. So aside from this, something I really appreciate about Factor is that you can order add-ons which include extra protein portions, veggie sides, breakfast options, energy balls and desserts, fresh juices, shakes, and smoothies. With all of that said, how much does Factor cost? Well, the cheapest price per meal you could get is $10.99, but to get access to that pricing, you'll need to order at least 18 meals per week, and the most expensive deal you can get is $15 for 4 meals per week, which is the minimum amount you can order. Now, when signing up, you may see that the minimum is 6, but you can actually adjust it to 4 once your account is set up. This option isn't visible on the website when you're first choosing your preferences because it is just recently added, so they'll update that as soon as possible. Also, keep in mind there's an $11 shipping fee with each order. And by the way, just as a reminder, if you want to give Factor a try, I was able to get a significant discount, which is a great way to test out Factor for the first week, and then you'll have a better idea of whether or not you want to continue with the service or not. So overall, Factor is not entirely without its faults. Besides the customer service, the lack of gluten-free certificates might deter people who can't consume gluten for health reasons. Also, there's not much variety for the veggie, vegan, and even pescatarian meals. Now, having said that, I would still absolutely recommend Factor because they're possibly the best pre-cooked food I've ever had so far, and it's fantastic for individuals, couples, or even families who want to eat clean and don't have the time to do so. It works great for me personally as I can spend more time working and maintaining productivity, knowing that I'm not falling short on health or nutrition. So Factor really hit a home run, especially when it comes to the quality and taste. And while there are other services that deliver pre-cooked meals, none have matched the taste or the post-meal satisfaction I've experienced with Factor. And so if you're looking to have high quality, tasty, ready-to-eat meals that you can eat with minimal effort, the Factor is well worth the price, and I highly recommend it. And that's it for today's video. Again, if you want to check out these services yourself, you'll find discounts in the description down below. And feel free to comment below if you have any questions, and like and subscribe if you found this video to be helpful and would like to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.